Hi friends, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. My name is Amanda and I am a gardener here in Zone 6 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Today I was planning on doing a kitchen day, and as I was walking out the door to do just a few things in the garden because it's not storming right now, I had the power go out and we were expecting tornadoes, and the weather has been really chill for like the last 2 hours. So I was going to put up a cattle panel for my tomatoes to trellis on, maybe do a quick sketch, and just kind of pitter around the garden. My power came back on, so I'm so excited because it wasn't supposed to come on for another 4 hours. So maybe we will do the kitchen stuff. Maybe I will just put up my cattle panel real fast, just so it's done. I already have the T-posts in the ground. I just need to add my cattle panel and then secure it. I just use zip ties to secure my cattle panels. It lasts for the season. Could have left it up, but I decided to move it, and so I'm adding new zip ties. So let's just get that up real fast, and then we'll go inside and do some of the kitchen stuff that I had planned. So as you guys can see, I have my two T-posts here, and my tomatoes are getting to the point where they need, or will start needing to be secured to the trellis. So got zip ties. Let me grab not the T-post, but the cattle panel, and see if we can get this guy up pretty quick. So this is an 8-foot panel. When you're doing the archways, you want to get the 16-foot. Or you can do what I do and get 2 8-foots and kind of just secure them together. I'm going to let this do a little balancing act for a second. And these are not any special UV protected zip ties. They're just like the standard cable ties. I got an assorted back because they have been quite useful in a lot of other aspects. Alright, so I've got about 2 zip ties secured to each side of my cattle panel, which is just good enough that these guys are going to stay secured. I was really hoping to actually spray paint these T-posts this year, but didn't get to that. And honestly, I couldn't find a color that I actually really liked, so I'm just leaving them the rusty green that they are currently. So we're not quite at the point of trellising tomatoes, but these guys are starting to put off tomato blossoms, which, let me get that focused. Look at that, it's so cool. So that is Dr. White Cheese. That's one of my favorite beefsteak. It's like a yellow orange beefsteak, and these tomatoes just look phenomenal. So super excited about having these guys. Next, I just ripped the leaf on that. Yeah, a little fasciated blossom. That's gonna be a ginormous cat-faced tomato, typical for the first bloom of an heirloom tomato to be fasciated. So, the garden is getting closer to being set up. I still need to put in my irrigation, which is really just drip tape, but I haven't quite done that yet, and I really need to get the stuff in my freezer out to make room for all of the garden goodies that are gonna be going in. So let's actually head inside. All right, friends, full transparency, I've not done everything I should, And we just had the power out for a little bit, so things might be a little weird. So the goal for today is to get my chopped jalapeños out. There is some frostbite. Some of the stuff is gonna get tossed, which I hate to say, but I just didn't get to it fast enough. So it's not quite as good as it could have been had I used it as quickly as I should have. So I have 2 things of frozen peaches, which I'm gonna make into peach jam today. Probably should have taken these out forever ago. We're gonna do the diced jalapenos first. We're gonna do Cowboy candy, and then we're gonna do peach jam. We're gonna start with the candied jalapenos first. My bag, I was kind enough to myself to label how many ounces were in here. So I've got 1.9 pounds. My recipe calls for 3 pounds of jalapenos. So this is gonna be a half recipe, approximately, of candied jalapenos. I have no idea how many jars this recipe makes up. So I've got a handwritten recipe. So it calls for regular, that is sabo. Calls for 3 pounds jalapenos, sliced 1/4 inch or diced, depending on how you like to use it. 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, 6 cups granulated sugar, half teaspoon turmeric, half teaspoon celery seed, 3 teaspoons powdered garlic, 1 teaspoon ground cayenne pepper, and a half teaspoon of smoked paprika. So I need to still grab my powdered garlic, and then I don't have smoked paprika, I just have regular paprika. I literally just bought a big thing of paprika because I was fully out. So I got a giant thing because I use this for my taco seasoning, my chili, and a couple other things. So ground garlic. I'm basically gonna get my pot on medium high, and I'm going to combine my vinegar, the sugar, and the spices and get that to a boil. All right, this guy has been boiling for a couple minutes now and is thoroughly bubbled. As soon as I throw my jalapenos in here, though, this is going to die down super fast because these are still super frozen. This is taking me back to football season because we always use candied jalapenos with cream cheese. I actually blend them together, so it doesn't really matter what size jalapeno I put in my candied jalapenos, but I blend it together and make this super delicious dip. So it's got me thinking of football season, which it is not time for. Alright, so we've got jalapenos in the pot. It's gonna take a minute for that to heat back up, which is fine. Once it does heat back up, we will let this go for about 5 minutes on a simmer. I've honestly never made candy jalapenos from frozen jalapenos. I know that when you freeze your items, the texture of them changes, but being that the way that I'm going to be using them is blending them up into cream cheese, the texture is not going to matter much. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for me. So I don't know how it would work for other applications. I just know that this is going to be so tasty. I do have a ton of jalapenos planted in my garden this season. I have the Fuego jalapenos again, which is what variety this one is. And then I have some jigsaw jalapenos, which is like a really pretty purple one. I've got jalapeno M, which is a hybrid from Haas Tools. I've grown one other hybrid in my garden, and it was like some kind of paste tomato from Burpee, a seed from Burpee, but it was a paste tomato. That was last year. I've never grown a hybrid jalapeno. Hybrids just basically are cross-pollinated with other varieties to produce a variety that is more resistant to whatever the producer is looking for. I'm not really sure what the upside of the hybrid jalapeno M is. I just saw it and I got one. So that is, I think, so we got like, what, 3 jalapeno varieties? Maybe 4? I don't know. We're gonna have a lot of we're going to have a lot of jalapenos in the garden this year. I really wanted to focus more on varieties that I use in my cooking. So that includes jalapenos, poblanos, shishitos, because those are good snackers, pimentos, because I just really like those. They're really sweet and fun. And then bell peppers. So I have a lot of different varieties of bell. And there are a few other like add-ins, but for the majority it was peppers that I knew I was going to be using. So we're gonna let that rise in temp. This new tool is coming in handy again. It's time to get the jalapenos out, but leave the juice, because we need the juice to thicken into more of like a syrup. It's okay if some of the jalapenos get left behind, but we're gonna try to get a majority of them out. So I'm actually going to get this closer to this. This is perfect. Just pack those guys in there. I don't know how many jars we'll end up getting. I'm just gonna use my little teaspoon to knock those guys in and kind of push those in a little bit. And these need about a 1/4 inch of headspace. So I'm trying to make sure that I leave, yeah, that should be good. Enough space that once the juice comes in, they'll still fit nicely. We'll get 2 half pints. Should be enough. Alright, so we've still got a few pieces in this pot, but I'm just gonna go ahead and place it back on the stove and get this guy heated up so that he can reduce. So our syrup is finished, so we're gonna add it to our jars. I'm gonna end up using this pot to can these guys in. Yes. And while this is canning, we'll go ahead and actually get some other stuff going. I'm gonna grab a chopstick. So I wiped the rims, they're nice and clean, and I'm just going to make sure that these lids are centered and just hand tighten these on there. All right, so I have the pot of water getting ready to be a boil so that we can get these processed. They need to process for, let's see, they need 1/4 inch headspace and need to be processed for 10 minutes for half pints. I'm just going to process this 1/4 pint, I guess, for 10 minutes with these half pints, just the same, and it'll be fine. While that water is getting boiled, we're actually going to process the garlic scapes, or process some garlic scapes. So I'll send you back to past Amanda. All right, friends, we're in the garden. I am getting ready to harvest my garlic scapes. So I have 2 types of garlic in my garden. I have hardneck and I have elephant garlic. Elephant garlic is more closely related to onions because they just get so large and they have a very mild garlic flavor. But that makes them so spectacular for peeling. Because the cloves are so large, they're easy to peel. And that makes them easier to deal with when you're in the kitchen. I also have hardneck garlic. I think I have 2 varieties of hardneck garlic. I'm going to go on my notes and I'm going to check what those are. So one of the varieties that I have is called Music, and that is a variety that is shown to do well in my area, in my zone, my climate. So I do highly recommend when it is time to actually plant garlic, which will be in the fall, to actually go to your local greenhouses and talk to people, or even find a Facebook page that's local to your area and just see what other people have been growing in your area. Just because it can be really specific. Some garlics, hardneck, softneck, do better in different climates. So for me, hardneck varieties do better. And last season I did grow some softnecks, and I think I could have gotten away with it. I just put it in a spot in my garden that didn't get quite enough sun. And so those cloves really didn't fill out as much as I would like. But this year I can tell that they're doing really well. And because of that, I really need to get my garlic scapes off because they're getting to the point where they're starting to almost curl around twice. Typically, I like to harvest my garlic scapes once they've done at least 1 loop, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. You're gonna have a plant that's putting all of its energy towards those scapes because it's trying to reproduce itself. Hardneck garlic is asexual and sexual, basically meaning that it can produce bulbs or new plants from the cloves individually. So you can have multiple plants from 1 garlic bulb, or it can send off its scape. The scape is going to then produce bulbils. I don't know if that's how you say it. I'll put it up here. But basically, those are little itty bitty garlic cloves. And if you take those little garlic cloves of bulbils and plant them in the fall, they won't be as big. So you have to keep replanting. It takes about 2 to 3 years for those to actually get to mature size, which isn't quite, we like to get a harvest of garlic every single year, basically. And so it is easier for us to go ahead and snip off the scape and just take the cloves from the garlic at the base instead of waiting those 2 to 3 years for those little tiny bulbils on the flower to plant. So let's get into the garden. Let me stop blabbing and get some garlic scapes. You can probably hear all of the flies. My mulberry trees are letting off all of their mulberries. You guys can see those. The birds are going crazy in my backyard, and so are the flies. I don't clean this up. It'll just magically go away because all of the flies will take care of them. And then what other insects. But off to the garlic that needs to be trimmed so bad. So this one, you can see it is already starting to almost like completely go around again. You can either trim these with clippers, which I got dirt on that one, or you can go ahead and trim them with just like breaking it off with your hands. I'm using clippers. We'll see. You guys can see the beautiful yarrow in all of its beautiful glory. This is my Colorado blend. Absolutely adore yarrow. Now you guys get to see some garlic that isn't quite ready. So this one is just starting to send off its garlic scape, and it hasn't quite done a loop, so I'm going to leave that one. But this one I'm going to take. Oh, that one looks like it's bad. So for the little amount of garlic that I really have, I got a pretty good basket full. So my plan is to make garlic scape pesto, which I've never made, and I'm excited about. Make sure my mic is on. So I'm going to send you back to present day Amanda, present day me, future me for me right now, but present for you guys. So see you guys then. So it has been a few days since I actually harvested these guys. I did wash them, I cut them, and they've just been in this plastic bag in my crisper drawer, my fridge, for that time. So they still are quite firm. I am going to measure these out to then process into garlic scape pesto, which I've never actually made, so I have no idea how this is going to taste. The recipe that I'm using is from the New York Times. I don't pay for their subscription, I just kind of, I got the recipe. So the recipe is a cup of garlic scapes, a quarter cup of raw seed of choice. I've seen the New York Times recipe is sunflower seeds, but actual basil pesto is made with pine nuts or pine seeds. I think they're pine nuts. But I've also seen recipes with walnuts and cashews. So it's really up to what your flavor preference is. I went ahead and I got the sunflower seeds. Had I known I could have used walnuts or cashews, I probably would have picked either of those up because I like both of those. I got roasted unsalted sunflower seeds, so that's what we're going to use. So you need a quarter cup of seeds, a half cup of extra virgin olive oil, a quarter cup of Parmesan cheese, and then a half cup of basil leaves, and a juice of 1 lemon. So I bought 2 lemons just in case, because I have no idea how many cups this is going to be, but maybe I'll just be doing a double recipe. I need to add a couple cups of water to that to make it go above those jars. I'll let this get back up to a boil, and once it starts boiling, I'll start my timer for 10 minutes. And then once it's boiling, I'll put the lid on too. Alright, it's been 10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and get these guys out. Or not out. I'm going to turn off the heat, remove the lid, and let these guys just sit and reduce in temp for a little bit. And then once they're a little bit cooler, I'll go ahead and transfer them over to my towel. In the meantime, let's get the garlic scape pesto started. The first step is to figure out how many cups of garlic scapes I have, which use my cup pacing spoon. Let's use, actually, this guy. So this measures up to 2 cups. I have a feeling this is going to be a double recipe. Doing this recipe as a double recipe just to kind of make it easier is a little bit more than 2 cups. I go ahead and add this to my blender, blend it down a little bit to make room, and then add the rest in and get it roughly chopped for about the time that I needed. Ooh, that smells so good. All right, so the next step is to add our seeds. Since I'm doing a double recipe, I'm gonna start out with a half cup of the sunflower seeds. And if I need to add more, I'll add more. Ooh, of course. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna pulse this or puree for another 30 seconds. Alright, so the next step is to add in our olive oil. I'm gonna do, it needs a full cup of extra virgin olive oil. I think that there are other oils that you can use. This recipe called for extra virgin olive oil, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use that. And then we're going to mix this or pulse it for 15 seconds. And then we're going to add in our Parmesan, and that is a half cup, which I'm just gonna add all of this in. And I'm also going to knock down the sides. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut and get the juice out of these lemons. Should get a strainer so I don't get any seeds. So I'm doing 2 lemons. Looks like it's going to be about a half cup of lemon juice with 2 lemons. So I'm just going to pour the lemon juice in here. And then I gathered some basil, and I didn't quite have enough basil. I grabbed my lettuce leaf, the sweet Genovese, and I actually had some lemon basil, which I thought would go nicely because I'm putting lemon juice in this. And then I did grab some parsley just to kind of get more of that full cup. Oops. So I'm just gonna kind of put that on either side. Give this a few good pulses and then stuff it down more. Alright, so this is super tasty. I'm going to fill, this is my quart jar. It's about half full. I'm gonna put a lid on it, not tight, and I'm gonna actually freeze this to use later because I won't use it all at once. So I've got probably about just as much as I have in here and here, and I'll go ahead and dish this out into, I think, I'll just do this container right here, and put this in my fridge, and I'll use this for lunches this week. I'll just bake up or cook up some pasta and use this in that. So I think that will be super tasty. I went ahead and I used my handheld immersion blender just to get a finer mix on it. My KitchenAid blender that I have, I don't know what it's called, doesn't quite get a smooth consistency. So went ahead and used the immersion blender. It really didn't do much more than what the other blender did, but it looks pretty good. It definitely tastes like basil pesto. You can taste the Parmesan. It has kind of that citrusy tang. Meanwhile, the garlic flavor is there, but it's not punching you in the face. So I did not add salt onto this. If I feel like I need salt in that dish, I'll go ahead and top it with salt, but as is, I think it's pretty good. So these two half pints look like they're sealed. The lid is popped down. This one, I don't know what happened. It's really loose. And so I'm gonna go ahead and reprocess this one. So I got a smaller pot getting ready to boil, and I'll probably just put, I don't know what I'll put in the bottom so that's not clinging around. But I'll reprocess this one. I've got my pot here that we're gonna use for the peaches, but it is 7:30, so I'm gonna go ahead and cook up some tacos for dinner real fast. All right, since we have so much peaches, this pot is full of frozen peaches. Ooh. That sound was actually the quarter ounce popping, which means it's sealed, which is good. So I had the idea of, instead of making this all into peach jam, which I love peach jam, but that's a lot of peach jam, I am going to use, I think the recipe was 4 cups of the peaches to make a peach cobbler, which I've never made, so this is a first for me, but I have everything to make it, because the batter is salt, sugar, baking powder, and flour, got those, peaches and sugar, got that. I might add a little bit of vanilla extract. Wasn't in the recipe, but I don't think it'll hurt. So I'm gonna have some peach cobbler. Never had peach cobbler. I think it makes it better when you have vanilla ice cream. I don't have vanilla ice cream, so we'll just have it as is. It is pretty sweet. There was quite a bit of sugar in the recipe. So all of the recipes I will link down below in the description. So yeah, I'm excited. Peach cobbler. All right, so for the peach cobbler, we're gonna do a cup of all-purpose flour and a cup of sugar. There's 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and then we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'll just eyeball. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This is a 1/2 teaspoon, so I need 4 of these. One, 2, 3, 4. And then last but not least, we need a 3/4 cup of milk. All right, so 3 of these guys for 3/4. 1, 2, 3. And in the video that I saw of this this batter was pretty loose. So we are going to add this into the butter dish. All right, so it said to make sure to get this as flat as possible and kind of mix that butter in a little bit. So this peach cobbler ended up being pretty tasty, although I do wonder how it would have tasted with fresh peaches instead of frozen peaches. Otherwise, it was pretty good. Probably would have been even better with some ice cream. So on the stovetop, I have tacos for tonight. And then this is the 4 cups of peaches, and I've just have this on like a medium low, medium high. It's about 5 on my stove. We're gonna add 3/4 cup of sugar. Again, this recipe does have quite a lot of sugar in it because it is a dessert. So there's 3/4 cup, and then we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Again, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. And then we're really not trying to cook this down. We're just trying to get that sugar and salt to dissolve and for these peaches to release a lot of the juices. Since these peaches were in the freezer, once they've thawed, there's gonna be a lot of juices. So it shouldn't take too much for these guys to be ready to be topped on that batter. All right, so now we're just gonna top this on the batter. So this is going to go in for 38 to 40 minutes. It may be a little longer because I might have added a little too much peaches, but we'll see. All right, friends, I just pulled the peach cobbler out of the oven. I have the rest of the peaches on the stove simmering until they're completely thawed, and then I'll go ahead and make those into peach jam. I'm gonna cut the video here. We're having a bunch of fireworks. My dog does not like fireworks. It's a lot of barking. So to spare you guys, I'm gonna cut the video here. Thank you guys so much for joining me on today's video. If you guys have any questions about any of the recipes, let me know in the comments down below. But if not, thank you guys so much for coming and enjoying and watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.